Hello, bonsoir and buonasera. Welcome to the Autodromo di Mugello, the gorgeous Italian speed cathedral between the beautiful cities of Bologna and Pisa. And we're here for the 9th round of the Clio Cup Series of Europe 2022, presented by Renault Sport, with the best racing talents of Clio Cup Italia and Clio Cup France battling for the honours once more. Good evening to you all. Jake Sanson here for the two races. Here's your grid. David Pouget and Gabriele Torelli from Felice Gialmini and Steve Juf from Johan Lenoutre and Alessandro Brigatti. Leo Jusset is beside Jerzy Spinkovic, then Alexandra Albui and Christian Ricciarini round out the top 10. Damiano Pichetti and William Mazzetti on row 6 from Sandro Subek and Giacomo Trevi, then Aurelien René and Jacopo Giuseppe Jimenez. Alessio Alcidi and Gianalberto Goldani from Mattia Lanciolotti and Cosimo Bappi, from Guillaume Maillot and Pierre Montmareuk, from Diego Casara and Sandro Cuttini. Then it's Francesco Cosentino alongside Quinto Stefana. Lin Chen Han, the Taiwanese driver, alongside Massi Danetti. Daniele Pasquale is beside Lionel Viguer. Mathieu Rigolet and Laurent Ziadus is beside. And then we have Cedric Delcroix alongside the Mexican Eduardo Miranda. Due is beside Michel Fay. Horn is beside Benjamin Covas. Then Nicolas Milan way down, 39th on the starting grid. We'll talk about that in a moment. From Gianluca Pellegrini, the Italian journalist invited by Renault Italia, and Alexandra Finkelstein at the back of the grid. Well, there's a lot to talk about before we start this race battle. Championship leader Nicolas Milan starting from the back of the grid with 41 cars in the field, and that's just for starters. 25 minutes plus 1 lap on a day that's already had flotsam and jetsam by the boatload. 32 qualifying laps were deleted earlier due to track limits infringements. 4 of those alone were Nicolas Milan, and hence he starts down in 39th out of the 41 drivers. Punctures are likely based on the weekend we've had so far here at Mugello. Many delaminations of tyre during the previous TCR Italy and Porsche Carrera Cup Italia races, one of which took out the race leader midway through the TCR race. Bizarrely, we've just had the BMW M2 Racing Cup race end with the race leader Luigi Ferrara win the race with a puncture as he was coming across the finish line. So anything is possible in races today. I managed to catch up briefly with pole sitter David Pouget and Nicolas Milan from the back of the grid a while ago, in my best schoolboy French, I might add. Don't worry, bon maman, bon papa, your extra lessons came in handy. They've been able to relate to me how tough these races are going to be in terms of engine temperature. They're really going to be stretched here at Mugello anyway, coupled with the fact that we've just had the hottest part of the day. So racing could be even tougher to manage than qualifying was, and that was pretty spicy. The brightest and best of Italian racing talent is here on this ACI racing weekend at Mugello. I bumped into rising Mercedes F1 Junior star Andrea Kimi Antonelli earlier, and when he got back up off the floor after fainting at the shock of seeing me there, we had a brilliant catch-up. Great to see European karting champion from last year Giacomo Bellini take the win in the Sport Prototipi race earlier too, and we'll see Luigi Coluccio in action in the Italian GT race tomorrow. But can any of the Italian Clio stars top the podium in race 1 today? David Pouget definitely going to have it tough, but he got a pole position time of 2 minutes 10.634, just 49 thousandths of a second quicker than the lap time set by the Faro racing driver Gabriele Torelli. So it's definitely going to be tricky for him, but the GPA racing driver wanting to take up residence on pole position and then not have to threat for the remainder of the day's activity. Definitely going to be an interesting one off the start. And if we have 2 non-starters, actually, by those who have been following the championship since day 0, and that is Luciano Gioia in the Essicourse number 60, and Andrea Codini is not going to be taking up the start either in the Oregon team, the driver who raced Ferrari Challenge back in 2008 here in Italy. But a big one for Luciano Gioia. He was, of course, 3rd in the Clio Cup Italia back in 2013, and he's been racing in Clios for nearly 20 years, but for some reason, we're not entirely sure what the reason is, he has elected not to take up the start. So it's going to be an interesting one from the outset, that is for sure, as everybody is obviously going to be wanting to give themselves the best possible chance of making their way through the field. Nicolas Milan coming up from 39th on the starting grid. David Pouget and Gabriele Torelli in the GPA racing car on the left and the Faro racing car on the right. 2 top drivers, one from each nation, of course, that is vastly represented here. Gabriele Torelli is the man who was 2nd in Mini Challenge Italia 3 years ago, and David Pouget, Clio Cup Spain champion 2019, 2nd in the European Clio Cup Series last year. He's got a great chance of doing something special on pole position with main championship rival Nicolas Milan, 5 times Clio Cup France and 3 times Clio Cup Spain title winner and European champion from last year. Down at the back, lights are on, let's race at Mugello! Great start from the front of the field, a little bit of a lock-up on the start there from the 44 car, that is Felice Gelmini, getting a little bit of a sluggish one. A couple of drivers already starting to race clear, no problems at all for the pole sitter David Pouget in front of Gabriele Torelli as they come up to the first corner. Gelmini's trying to hold on to his position as they get to the first braking zone. They brake for San Donato, and there's a lock-up straight away. Gelmini is going to get a boot in the door. Everybody just about getting through though, despite a little bit of pushing and shoving, and it looks as though we've had a relatively clean start in the midfield as well. Drivers trying to make their way through, no problems at all for Pouget and Torelli. They lead the way as everybody else tries to get through smartly. Looks like Gelmini has lost a little bit of time, but that is his teammate going through. That's Damiani Puccetti in the second of the PMA Motorsport cars. He raced in Easy Kart back in his youth, so he's used to tough situations in the middle of the field. But away we go in a fantastic start. Torelli is already hustling the race leader David Pouget, so it's going to be tricky. Steve Diouf has got into third position, a big lock up down the hill and a spin. Oh, that's gone terribly wrong on the first lap for Giacomo Trebi. So Giacomo Trebi, unfortunately, the RS Cup Italian champion twice over, racing in Clio since 2014. He's gone and he's beached it down at Casanova. So I'm afraid his race has come to a stop early. Sandro Subek there trying to work his way back up through the field, having had a bit of a tricky start. He's currently running in P12. That's Gelmini trying to get his way back through past the 25 of Alexandre Albou, and he has come through no problem at all. So Alexandre Albou has managed to get out of the way. Gelmini moving up into fourth position, safety car, no major shocks there. Giacomo Trebi's car obviously beached up at Casanova. Now the big question is going to be, whereabouts is Nicolas Milan? He's up to 31st already, so he's already picked off eight cars. Now how did that start? I think there was a little bit of a love tap there, unfortunately, on the back of Trebi's car. I didn't quite see who that was that nudged. It might have been Sandro Subek. Trebi is actually very lucky that the car didn't roll over in that. And we're going to see a little further back. This is the same car involved in that one that tank slapped it and ran wide, possibly due to damage. I think that is Sandro Subek. It is indeed the Austrian. Now, whether or not it's going to be judged that Subek has caused that incident has yet to be determined, but certainly we do not even complete one racing lap before there's difficulties. So, as we come to expect on first lap shenanigans, drivers must follow the safety car with no overtaking, so that gives us a chance to brush up on the race order at the moment. David Pouget leads the way in front of Gabriele Torelli. Then it is Steve Diouf in third position. Now, a fascinating story about Steve Diouf. This is actually his first race back on a racetrack for about 10 years, because he's used to racing in rallying prior to this on the Asphalt Trophy. So great to see him back, and he's already looking at his first podium on his return. Now, I've got to try and count down the line, but the driver in ninth place, that is Alessandro Begatti in the Progetto E20 car, has got massive damage to the front bumper. So that could cause massive problems for him, unless that is able to be repaired. Well, the only way that's going to cause him any strife at all is if he's asked to be called in, but you can see that the front bumper is actually dragging off the right front of the car. There's only maybe one pin holding it still in place, but the safety car is going around, so obviously everybody now getting themselves back up to tyre temperature. This is actually going to help a little bit, having a safety car period. There is the 100 of Steve Diouf in his fabulous liveried Clio. That looks absolutely gorgeous, the GM Sport machine. But yes, he's back, Steve Diouf, after a 10-year absence from racing. He has been rallying in the interim since that point, so great to see him back on the circuits, and he's in third place already. That's going to wipe the smile from a few people. Felice Gelmini, tricky start for the man who was third in TCR Italia a couple of seasons ago, but also, of course, won the Italian Clio Cup back in 2019. But somehow he managed to get through in fourth place. He was quite fortunate there. Managed to get his move back on Alexandre Albou just before we went to safety car. So the GPA racing driver from Rodez, bang out of luck there, has to run in fifth position for the moment. He's been driving French machinery all his life. He started out in the Peugeot RCC era back in 2003 through to 2008. He's been in Clios since 2018, despite taking a 10-year sabbatical from racing. And he's right up in fifth place. Sixth position, that is Leo Jousset in the Milan Competition car. He's currently in front of the 77. That's Jean Leneutre, who was a star driver in the Rotax world of karting back in his youth. Jezek Spinkovic, a very similar story from the pole. He's currently in eighth position at the moment. Jezek Spinkovic in the Unique Racing Clio. he did everything in the world of karting. He was in Miami Euro back in 2019. He was in the OK categories in 2020. Switched to Clio's last year. This is only his second year of car racing, and there he is in 8th place. Very impressive so far. Now, the damage to Alessandro Begatti has not been given any attention. Safety car is coming in this lap, though, so that could be interesting. And 10th position currently is the 103. That is William Mazzetti, a man who has raced pretty much everything in the world of karting. He raced in ROC, X30 and OK classes back in his day, so no surprise that the young whippersnapper is right up at the sharp end of Clio's. Now, Pouget and Torelli are going to get us underway on the restart. The safety car has checked out in front, which means that Pouget has been backing up the pace of the pack a little bit now, ready to get us underway racing here at Mugello. And as they come through Bucine, the final turn, he's going to be ready to charge his way forward out of the final turn. Now, when is he going to bang it in on the throttle? I think he may already have done so as the field tightens up out of the final turn. A couple of drivers having a moment or two on this outlap back into racing conditions again, but Pouget has dropped the hammer. They're going to come down the main straight up towards San Donato once again, and Torelli's got slipstream as we go green, 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 green once again into lap 3, and this is going to be a fascinating challenge now as we have 18 minutes and 40 plus the additional lap. And side by side, here comes Torelli coming in on the inside as he dives in on the inside line, and he's not going to be the only one at this rate. Pouget's going to drift wide, and Steve Juve is going to try and get into second. He's not quite got the acceleration up the hill, but Torelli has definitely taken the lead. Perfect start then from the number 12. A terrific launch forward from Gabriele Torelli, and that's Yelmini getting through past Juve into 3rd position. Antoine Alboy going a little bit wide, but very wide indeed with Joran Lenoutre. So Joran Lenoutre managing to drop it there, and now diving in on the inside. That is Juve going wheel to wheel with Alboy, and Alboy is trying to hold it, but no, Steve Juve is not going to be a pushover in this one. He hangs on to 4th position for the time being as they drop down the hill, through the right at Casanova, through the left at Savelli, and they're going to have a great little tussle up on the inside. Good move there from René. So a good move from Aurélien René, the JSP competition driver, comes through, and as we expected, Subek has been adjudged the driver that caught out Trevi, and he has been given a try-through penalty as a result. Not a great restart this from David Pouget, who is really struggling to hold off the attentions of Felice Gelmini. Gelmini trying to come through into 2nd place, and they work their way through Scarperia up to Pelagio. And still holding on at the moment, but oh my goodness, Pouget under so much pressure from Gelmini, who's not going to give up an opportunity as they come into Correntaio. And now we've got Steve Juve running around the far side. That's going to open the door for Alexandre Albuy. And Albuy is trying to get through, but he's got pressure of his own from Jusset. We've got smoke coming off one of the cars further back as they come through the Biondetti chicane. And there's been a replay to have a look at, so somebody's made a hash of it somewhere. Whoa! Big run wide and a big spin right in front of the pack. Now, who is that? That is the 85 car dropping it. That is Benjamin Cobas. So Benjamin Cobas, I'm afraid, is at a moment in the GBA car. He raced in French GT last year in the Pro-Am Cup. He's found in the Clios considerably tougher beasts to handle. But it's Torelli over the line from Pouget, Gelmini, Juve, Jusset, Alboy, Lenoutre, Spikovic, Subek and René. But Sandro Subek, of course, has a drive-through penalty to serve. He'll only have just noticed that on the big lock-up from Gelmini. He's got to be careful he doesn't plough straight into the back of Pouget. He manages to recover, but Juve has now got pressure from the 104 car of Leo Jusset. Leo Jusset trying to come through into 4th position. Excellent racing so far from the Clio Cup Series. They work their way through the S's now. Through Luco, the left-hander, into Poggio Secco in the right-hander. And a good move abated there, unfortunately, as the 43 of Damiano Puccetti tried to get through on the inside of Brigatti. No way through, no room in the inn. So out of Materassi and Bogo San Lorenzo and down the drop. A big plummet this if you go round the circuit. Into Casanova, the right-hander, and there is Lenoutre trying to get his way past Jusset. Classes within classes, don't forget, so there is a class victory up for honours between Jusset and Lenoutre as they battle away for 5th position, but Torelli trying to win on home soil here as he battles away up front. Back up the climb, and Gelmini wants to get into 2nd place. He wants to win in his home turf as well. So a lot of pride being fought for here. Looking through the field at Nicolas Milan's progress. He is in 25th place now, just behind Jacopo Ximenes. So going well as he charges his way back through the field, and he's got 15 minutes to try and crack the top 10. But it's not going to be easy for Nicolas Milan. Looks like we're going to get a very different driver on this occasion, up on the top step of the podium. As still, we've got a great battle between Juve, Jusset and Lenoutre. And there's problems for, that's problems, I'm afraid, for Gelmini. Gelmini is slowing. That is devastating news, but I'm afraid it is all going wrong for Felice Gelmini. He's got a problem. Now, his car is slowing in the background. He was in third place, but what is the cause of it? Is it mechanical problems, or is it a puncture of some kind? We've certainly had punctures all the way through the day here at Mugello. It really has bitten the competitors hard in every category so far today. Doesn't seem like any one class of racing in the ACI weekend has been able to get scot-free from the punctures. But track limits have been a premium, and drivers have been flirting with those rumble strips at the side of the road all weekend long. As Jusset now goes wheel to wheel with Juve. He's trying to outbrake him round the outside, trying to go the long way round at San Donato. He might just have the uphill climb and hold it to the inside line for Materassi. Perfect. Nicely nailed there by Jusset, who gets through, and he's not the only one, as Juve has now got to defend the oncoming move from Lenoutre. And Jean Lenoutre manages to get through into fourth position. Good work from Jean Lenoutre there as he gets up into fourth place, and he's not going to be the only one. It's up the inside. Very forceful indeed from Alexandre Albouy. But Albouy has had to concede and give it back. I think he's actually got damage. So problems for Albouy. He's got damage. He's slowing now. He's slowing. Oh, Alexandre Albouy, who was having a great race, he's now dropping back. So that's going to give sixth position to the Polish driver, Jerzy Spinkiewicz. He's going to come through in position now. How about this for a scrap? We've got, oh no, it's not. It's Lenoutre that's dropping back. Albouy is still there. It's actually Jean Lenoutre that is dropping down the field. Very unfortunate. Whoa, goodness me. That's a big off the road there from Sandro Subek. Hasn't he been in for his drive-through penalty yet? He's certainly supposed to have done by now. So Sandro Subek really is flirting with disaster there, going off the road. And that doesn't really help his cause. I'm afraid if this were a movie starring Matt Damon and Will Smith, Matt Damon would be saying this is becoming embarrassing. Will Smith would be retorting, oh no sir, it's been embarrassing for quite some time now. What a shame for Sandro Subek, really struggling at the moment. And there is the battle oncoming from Alexandre Albouy, Steve Juve, and he's got pressure in behind him from Jerzy Spinkiewicz in the unique racing machine, the young man from Poland, one of only 4 drivers in the entire paddock of Clio Cup Series races, not from France or Italy. So back onto the home straight, and it looks really good for Gabriele Torelli out in front. David Pouget has managed to shake off the opposition. He's in second position for the moment. And then it is Jusset who finds himself in a very solid third place here. Good work from Leo Jusset in the Milan competition car. And now we've got this fourth place tussle. This is Alexandre Albouy trying to hang on from Steve Juve. And then Jerzy Spinkiewicz is there in sixth position, trying to get himself into the top 5 as into the... Oh, he's parking it! That's meant to be a drive-through penalty for Sandro Subek, but he's throwing his toys out the pram. He's had enough. I don't want to play anymore, he says as he comes in and parks the car. Steve Juve runs wide, and the battle raging between Torelli and Pouget as they trade sector times. 9/10 of a second between them. Whoops, that's right off the road for both drivers there. They've obviously got to be careful at track limits, and to be fair, Borgo San Lorenzo is one of the right-handers that is being closely monitored for track limits through the weekend. Alexandre Albouy has to save that one down the hill through Casanova and collects it on the approach out of Savelli. Does he? Drifts out a little bit wide, kicks up the dust that's been thrown onto the road by Sandro Subek and Benjamin Cobas. So now he's got to try and run up the hill once more through Arrabbiata 1 and 2 and up to Scaperia. So far so good, but hanging on to fourth position. Very tight indeed for Alexandre Albouy from Juve and Spinkiewicz. Then behind them it is René Ricciarini. He's up to 8th place now from Mazzetti and Alcidi. Alcidi finds himself in 10th position in front of Cosimo Papi and Felice Gelmini, who is now running in 12th position, so whatever problem he had is now abated. Puccetti in front of Caldani and Brighetti, then Monmanu, Mayo, Finkelstein, Danetti, and Nicolas Milan is now 20th. With 10 minutes to try and work his way higher. So Nicolas Milan is going well. Jean Lenoutre came through last time in 21st position. I don't know whether he's still circulating or not, but it certainly shows that for the moment he is. I think we've had a problem for Denetti actually. Milan and Lenoutre have both managed to get past the number 76 of Massi Denetti in the PMA. And that, of course, is the Clio Cup Italian champion from 2020. His first appearance in the car this season, and not exactly having a thrill fest, Denetti. Down just in front of Cutini and Ximenez, but they are outside the top 20 now. So not exactly where they wanted to be. Down into the braking zone, and still Alexandre Albouy in front of Steve Diouf and Jerzy Spinkovic. Spinkovic trying to get through on the inside of Steve Diouf, but you just can't quite get close enough in the braking zone to slingshot the Clio up the inside and make the overtaking move as they continue to climb through Lucco, then through the right at Poggio Secco. Careful not to run too wide, you really don't want to incur the wrath of the officials. Down the drop into Materassi, there is the 104, this is Jusset. So Leo Jusset looking for third overall as well as a class victory here. This will be very good indeed for him. Then you drop down the plunge, up towards Casanova. Albouy, Diouf and Spinkovic still having a great tussle. This is for 7th downwards, this is René. So Aurelio René running very well here in front of, that is Christian Ricciarini in the Esse Corsa. And then they come up the Arrabbiata 1, up the Arrabbiata 2. Having gone through Savelli, almost flat on the throttle through that left-hander, and then they come up these two rights, up the climb again, down the drop to Scaperia. So many elevation changes on this Mugello circuit. It is a real thrill fest for the drivers. Up to Bellagio, running a little bit wide. Try not to use all the curb, gents. You want to use some race truck as well. That's the black bit with the white lines either side of it. Then up into the hairpin at Corantaio. And Steve Diouf actually taking a slightly wider trajectory to cut in and get better acceleration off the turn. And as they head up towards Biondetti 1 and Biondetti 2, named after the vintage Grand Prix driver Clemente Biondetti, they now come up to Regine, the final turn. This long flowing left-hand hairpin. Oh, snaking under braking and the tyres squealing. You've got to be so careful, otherwise you really are going to get a puncture. And that is an overtake that we missed, unfortunately. That is Christian Ricciarini getting past Aurelio René. So he's made the overtaking move there. Now David Pouget is still on the charge after Torelli, and he's got the slipstream, but he hasn't quite got close enough to send it on the inside line into San Donato. He's got to be very careful how he sets the car up. You've got to look after the tyres, you've got to look after the engine, and running in the slipstream of another car is definitely going to help David Pouget out in terms of having a little bit of airflow going through the radiator. I saw quite a few drivers and teams preparing their cars before they came out to the dummy grid, and they had basically air blowers to blow through the radiator to keep the engines cool. Because you don't want to overheat the engine around this place. It really can cook an engine. As running wide, well, Steve Diouf shows his rallying credentials, but I don't think he was meant to. Ran a little bit wide there out of Poggio Secco, but manages to catch it on the way down towards Borgo San Lorenzo, named after the village that's nearby. Fabulous place, I've stayed there many a time. Dropping down through Casanova and Savelli. Through the left-hander, another bit of dust kicked up by Steve Diouf. He really is fond of his rallying routes around this race. But Jerzy Spinkovic looking to try and break into the top 5. And certainly a youth podium as well. They climb up the hill once again. This is all going very well indeed for the man up front. Still going well for Torelli, no major pressures for him. He's still got about a second or so on David Pouget. Bit of a run wide there from our man in third place, so Leo Jusset has got to be very careful here. Doesn't want to get himself into too much. Oh, what a big dive on the inside from Steve Diouf! What a move on Alexandre Albouy, taking massive advantage of the lock-up. And now they're going to go wheel to wheel as they come out of Calantaio up to Biondetti 1, into Biondetti 2, and Steve Diouf shuts the door, but the door opens up again as he drifts wide out of Biondetti 2. And now as they come up to Buccine, Alexandre Albouy wants to get himself back into position once more. That was a banzai of an overtake from Steve Diouf, and he gets himself into 4th position, but Jerzy Spinkovic sat in 6th places, loving this and licking his lips and rubbing his hands with glee. Come on boys, you do the dirty on each other. I'm going to pick off 4th place if you even so much as sneeze in the wrong direction. And Jerzy Spinkovic is in the tow. So Steve Juve has got to be very careful into turn one. Big lock up from Albui, but Jerzy Spinkovic has got the run on Alexandre Albui, and I think he's going to make the move into 5th position without even having to break a sweat. Here he comes on the inside line. Steve Juve is going to go a little bit deep, and Jerzy Spinkovic into 5th position, and that's going to be second in class as well. Good run from Jerzy Spinkovic, going full guns blazing here on the Autodromo di Mugello. Oh, a bit of a tank slapper there from the 100 of Steve Juve. Got a little bit deep, manages to catch it again on the exit of the apex. But still going beautifully for Jerzy Spinkovic now that he's got into 5th position. And for Leo Jousset, this isn't done yet. We've still got 5 minutes plus the additional lap on the clock. And I don't think Leo Jousset's position is safe because he's dropping ever closer into the clutches of Steve Juve and Jerzy Spinkovic. And Spinkovic might want to challenge for position. He started his season very well out in the Middle East, Jerzy Spinkovic, very similar to his teammate Eduardo Miranda. But now they're having fantastic times in Europe. Oh, bit of a tricky manoeuvre there as in through Arrabbiata 1. Steve Juve got a wheel airborne there, and he's managed to catch some dust on the way through. Careful, Steve, you want to make sure you got 4 wheels on your wagon by the time you finished. Luigi Ferrara in the race prior to this one, the BMW race, managed to get a puncture as he came across the finish line. You've got to be so careful around this place not to stretch the car too far. But this is great work from the battle for 4th position. Steve Juve running very late on the brakes, takes his wider trajectory. Jerzy Spinkovic not close enough to close in, and Alexandre Albui is not actually that far away. Then we've got Ricciarini in 7th place from René, Mazzetti, Papi, Alcidi, Gelmini, Cordani, Puccetti and Finkelstein, who is up from dead last, by the way. Alexander Finkelstein from dead last is now 15th in front of Nicolas Milan, so they're going through the field like Sylvester Stallone and Kit Pardew in the Hollywood movie Driven. They're just two-timing the entire field as they charge their way through like the black missile in Super Mario Kart. Absolutely incredible as they charge their way through the field. So far so good for Gabriele Torelli in front of David Pouget. Up to the hairpin once more. You've really got to look after brakes down to San Donato. It's a big, big stop on the hairpin, and then you've got that climb, and it is a very steep incline as you go through that hairpin, and you're still climbing as you go through Luco, the left-hander, and Poggio Secco, the right-hander. The television pictures don't really give you a proper indication of just how much of an elevation change you take as you go through these corners. The suspension and the chassis taking all sorts of punishment as you're really pushing the car to its limit. That's Spinkovic in front of Juve. We didn't see what happened, but Jerzy Spinkovic is now in 4th place. He's managed to get past Steve Juve, and now he's going to be absolutely rocketing onto the back bumper of Leo Jousset to try and get the 2nd tier class win. He's got 2 minutes and 20 plus the additional lap to try and catch up. This isn't going to be easy, but Jerzy Spinkovic is absolutely a man on a mission now. 4th position, and he's got time to make this happen. So Spinkovic driving a beautiful race in 4th place, having got past Steve Juve, who was going to be 3rd in class, but 5th overall. This is really good and sensible racing with Jerzy Spinkovic, really looking after the brakes there through Scarperia and into Bellagio. A very tidy car that he runs through. And this is actually going to keep him out of danger zone. Steve Juve wants a piece of Jerzy Spinkovic back again. Spinkovic late on the brakes, but guides the car in through the middle of the apex. Nicely handled from the pole as he runs in 4th position. It was great to bump into Jerzy Spinkovic earlier. I hadn't seen him for about 6 months, and here he is playing ball with his rivals out there on the circuit here at Mugello. He really has fitted into car racing and Clio Cup racing in particular very well indeed. Jerzy Spinkovic with a seriously strong future in tin top racing, and certainly looking very strong in Renault Clios at the moment. And the Clio Cup Series continuing, and Jerzy Spinkovic wants to put the Polish flag in amongst the French and Italian flags around the course as he continues to charge forward. He would dearly love to get 3rd overall, but he is running short on time. There's a minute to go plus the additional lap, so this is going to be the penultimate lap of the race. Here comes Steve Juve. Jerzy Spinkovic having to defend on the inside line, down at the braking zone at San Donato. Steve Juve might go the long way round here, or is he going to cut for the undercut? Tries to tuck in on the inside apex, but he's not going to be able to make the move because Jerzy Spinkovic is going to protect the middle of the road and hold on through the inside line. Oh, the car wants to wash out over the curves, but Spinkovic controls it well. Steve Juve and Alexandre Albui are both there, poised, ready for a moment. As in the background, that's Ricciarini going a little bit deep. Steve Juve really trying to put Spinkovic under pressure. A little bit of a love tap. They do say, don't they, that Robin's racing. And Jerzy Spinkovic just giving a gentle reminder from Steve Juve. I'm here, don't make a single mistake or I'm having you. Down the drop at Casanova. Through the left at Savelli. And this is Steve Juve really trying to make his move. Up on the inside of Jerzy Spinkovic. Through Alleviata 1. Up the hill. Up through Alleviata 2. Stay on the road. Not easy. Car starting to slide. Time has run down to 0, so they've got one additional lap. Even Leo Jusset up in front looks a little bit vulnerable as they go into Scarperia. And then up through the left at Pelagio. And on the short stretch to Conantaio. This could come down to the last lap. We've seen it a couple of times already through the ACI Sport weekend here at Mugello in the other classes. It's not done yet. Steve Juve, puff of smoke, locks up the car through Conantaio. And that's going to give Alexandre Albouy a little bit of a taste of 5th place. They get back on terms once more through the chicane at Biondetti and up to the final turn at Buccine. So Torelli and Pouget just need to keep doing what they've been doing. Looks like there's been a problem for Cosimo Papi. I think Cosimo Papi's had a problem. So not entirely sure what's happened there, but I'm afraid we've got one driver dropping and tumbling. It is Cosimo Papi. The Scuderia Costa Ovest car has tumbled down the field as Nicolas Milan and Alexander Finkelstein have now come up to 13th and 14th. They're charging their way through, and on to the final lap we go. So we could see a real changeroo in the bottom end of the top 10. Watch in the background if you can for Alexandre Finkelstein, the number 29, and the championship leader Nicolas Milan in car number 1, the reigning champion in the European Clio Cup Series. And even these two are still at it, Torelli and Pouget. Pouget has not given up hope. He's gone quicker in the previous lap. If he's looked after the tyre as well, he might have one last shot on Gabriele Torelli before this race is over. We are on the Ultima Volta, the last lap. And now it's up to Gabriele Torelli to hold off and defend from David Pouget in the weekend-long rivalry between France and Italy. France drew first blood in qualifying, but it looks as though Italy is going to get the upper hand on home soil in race 1. But only if Gabriele Torelli can hold on through the last part of the lap. Alleviata 1, down the drop, back up the climb. Up through Alleviata 2. Nothing to choose between them in the first split. They come up the hill, both of them drifting a little bit wide as they approach Scarperia. And Gabriele Torelli desperately trying to hold on to the car, but the brakes will be at their weakest at this point. 25 minutes plus the additional lap is a year as far as the brakes are screaming at them. Come on, you've overworked us far too hard. Now we've just got to try and nurse them to the finish into Conantaio for the last time. And Gabriele Torelli is having to keep the car very cautious in the middle of the apex. 3 Biondetti 1 in the left, 3 Biondetti 2 in the right, and it looks okay to me. Gabriele Torelli only has one final corner at Buccine. But look at how close David Pouget is pushing. He does not want to risk the chance of a missed shift or a big lockup from Gabriele Torelli, who is pushing hard. 3 wheels on the deck and one in the air as he comes out of the final turn. But it is going to be first blood to Italy here at the Clio Cup Series. First race at Mugello this weekend. Gabriele Torelli, vincitore at the Autodromo di Mugello. Brilliant first race of the weekend. Victory for Torelli, second for Pouget. A great run in the junior race for Leo Jusset in front of Spinkovic, Juve and Albouy. Now look back, where did Finkelstein and Milan cross the line? They're going to come through after a fantastic charge. And as they come across the line, Finkelstein is 12th and Nicolas Milan fights back to 14th place. Those two from 41st and 39th, respectfully, come into the high end of the field, just outside the top 10. One more lap. And who knows where they could have ended up. Fabulous racing here in the Renault Clio Cup Series. Magic racing, but vincitore to Gabriele Torelli here at Mugello, and he'll be absolutely ecstatic with that. A real stalwart of these ACI Sport weekends. He really loves racing in this particular discipline. He made the switch from Mini Challenge a few years ago. He was second in the Italian Mini Challenge Cup in 2019, and now that he's made the switch to Clio Cup racing, he is a regular race winner. Great to see him put on a good show, and the Faro Racing team can be very happy with their boy as they pull into the pits. Fabulous, fabulous job from Gabriele Torelli. He takes the win from David Pouget and Leo Jusset, from Jerzy Spinkovic, Steve Juve and Alexandre Albouy. Then Christian Ricciarini in front of Aurelio Rene, then William Mazzetti, and Felice Gelmini comes home in 10th position. Fabulous run through the field. 11th from Gianalberto Coldani in front of Alex Finkelstein, Alessio Alcidi and Nicolas Milan up to 14th. Jean Lenoutre struggles to 15th in front of Damiano Puccetti, then Monmanio, Maio, Danetti and Sandro Cutini finishing up the top 20. Behind them it is Quinto Stefana and Jacopo Jimenez from Mathieu Rigoulet and Chen Hanlin of Taiwan, then Lionel Viguier, Mattia Lanciolotti, Laurent Ziadus, Cassara Pasquali, and then it is Douai in front of Delcroix, Horn, Fay, Miranda, Kovas and Pellegrini. Fabulous run, a very happy team there for David Pouget, the GPA racing team coming home in 2nd place, but it's this squad, the Faro racing team, who have every reason to be happy. A fabulous run from Gabriele Torelli, and how fired up is he? This is going to be like the cork of the bottle coming out now. Gabriele Torelli, victorious in Mugello. How about that for the Faro racing team? A brilliant race battle. It started well, right from the get-go. Excellent racing here at Mugello. Couple of moments at the start to pick up on. It was a perfect launch, has to be said, by David Pouget and Gabriele Torelli. By the time they actually got to San Donato, a big lock-up from Albouy as he dived in on Gelmini, and that really gave us a little bit of a difficult effect. And then the spin from Trevi, caused by Sandro Subek. He was so lucky not to roll over. Then on the restart, dive up the inside from Torelli. Steve Juve almost got through as well. But the restart was perfect from Gabriele Torelli. Managed to hustle David Pouget right from the start. Bit of a moment in the pack as Benjamin Kovas got it very wrong indeed. Again, he was quite lucky actually not to be pitched into a roll. We could have had a second safety car period. Great hustling. Leo Jusset getting into 3rd position nice and early as Gabriele Torelli stretched away and held on a little from David Pouget. Great comeback drive from Jerzy Spinkovic as well to get into 4th position. But some brilliant drives here at Mugello in Clio Cup Series Race 1, Round 9. Excellent work from Torelli and a fantastic start to the weekend. There's going to be more great racing tomorrow. We hope you join us for that. It's going to be fantastic. I'm Jake Sanson. A domani from Mugello.